How do you know that Bitcoin is a potential game changer? How do you believe when experts say that what we are experiencing today is nothing but a Bitcoinslation of the entire world and the economies, which will change how the financial markets work as we know them?
Here's the technological solution to the unease that we've been feeling. And so I think that's why it's resonating.
If you have been interested in the financial markets and the economic conditions in the world, you would have noticed that things have been really bumpy and volatile for some time. Investors, risk takers, and everybody involved has been feeling uneasy for a long time, probably ever since the major financial crisis started even before 2000 till date. Ask anybody involved in the financial markets and they'll tell you that they had a sense of fear and unease when it came to the stability of their incomes and the markets in general. But the same people, in fact, even the ones who are nowhere near connected to the financial markets, people all over the world have had a lot of hopes and a sense of optimism tied with technology and advancements it has been undergoing in the past few decades. There has been a general consensus that technology is the thing that can bring about disruption in any industry and sectors today in order to make them a lot more stable and give people the ability to feel at ease knowing they are in control of their future. And Bitcoin is where the unease associated with the financial markets meets with the hope tied to technology.
I think the entire financial structure of the world is in flux. And if this moment gets seized upon properly, everything will change. Now, it doesn't mean we'll come up with a perfect answer. Maybe Bitcoin ends up being the solution at the very end, but we've got a lot between here and the very end to go.
This is the technological solution to the unease, and that is why it seems to be resonating with people quite well. However, you will see different reactions from people that come from different angles. Some will tell you that this technology has an amazing future, while some will tell you that it is utter bullshit and will never work. But for the most part, people at this point are mainly looking for something or someone to help them revive and benefit and feel safer in an unstable environment, and Bitcoin is right at the center of it all. Many can see that this is going to be a full turning moment and will put the entire financial structure of the world in flux of the good kind. And only if this moment gets seized upon properly, everything will change. What we come up with and what happens next might not be the perfect answer, but many do believe that Bitcoin will end up being the solution at the very end. But to get there, it is still a long way. There is surely a fintech layer being built and banks agreeing that this is going to happen. So, in this case, what should be our next step? We have already seen capital coming into the tech space to allow people to build stuff, to build different platforms and different solutions to different problems, and even to some things that weren't problems at all. So for us, the next big catalyst and the one to look to should be the price institutions. We should look at the banks, but we should also know that these are not the ones driving the Bitcoin space. No. This is not a mere new financial policy or anything. This is an utter and complete disruption of money. Everybody is bound to change money to Bitcoin at different points as they keep releasing its importance, and this will in turn change the monetary and fiscal policies that have been held onto for so long.
Let's say we're not going to get rid of central banks and go to Bitcoin overnight, and I'll come on to that process. So let's say I wanted to solve the problems that we've got now. This is genius. This is literally genius. Because if you have big data sets and behavioral economics, you can do some really, really powerful things. Now, the flip side is it's terrifying because it can be used nefariously.
Things are going to blend, and even the central banks will be able to do direct stimulus. This will also mean that they can penalize you with negative 1% interest rates because you're a saver, while giving a student positive interest rates. Or they could do anything they want within the scope of this programmable money. Ben Walker from the ECB recently talked about this, saying that the central banks are going to go down two different paths. Some will just have additional currency, which is just digital fiat, but allows much easier transfers. And others will do programmable smart money. And clearly people at the ECB, a very interesting program, will not outsmart money because they've got a banking system that doesn't work. They will instead save money around the world at 0 on less than 1. What this tells us is the fact that the current monetary mechanism doesn't work with Bitcoin well. So we will need to change everything. The institutions and the banks will have to change everything. We are not going to get rid of central banks and go to Bitcoin overnight, but the process is already started for the change in the macro. The real drivers will be the ones that have big data sets in behavioral economics, who can do some really powerful things. Now the flip side is it's terrifying because it can be used nefariously and governments are known to edge towards that. But that is okay for now. We have to take things slow and move one step at a time. The central banks have all said that they want the private sector to build up a fintech layer and are happy with decentralized as well as with Bitcoin. What we regular people need to do is make sure everybody can use it. We need to tell the private sector that we want to use it. The next stage would then emerge would be the fiat money. And sooner than later, some Latin American is bound to get bored of having currency crisis after currency crisis and end up saying that we are now going to put Bitcoin in my reserve because Bitcoin at this point is probably a 10 trillion plus asset.
Deal with what is. This is coming in one way, shape, or form. So, okay, we're now in the central bank digital currency world. We're 5 years out. That's when it's going to happen within 5 years, right? So the world's changing. It's a big explosion. The central banks have all said, we want the private sector to build out the fintech layer. Happy with decentralized finance, happy with Bitcoin. We just regulate people on and off ramps, make sure everybody can use it. Let's go, right? That's what the stage has been set.
So essentially, in about 5 to 6 years' time, banks will hold our reserves in Bitcoin and then get rewarded for it, just like Michael Stone got rewarded for putting it into his company and earning massive returns. This will continue, and soon, owing to behavioral changes and game theory, everybody else will start doing it too. At this point, we will have hard currency versus other currencies, and it puts pressure on those other currencies. So what will happen if a hyperpolarization where companies have a base currency where they have their expenses or their cash flow so that they still own a business, but many of them choose gold as a base asset and switch around currencies accordingly for interest rate differentials or other advantages. This has been normal for wealthy families, hedge funds, alligators, and many more people. So doing it with Bitcoin should be no problem as well. So then Bitcoin will replace hard to manage and store gold as the base asset, which can simply be kept in a wallet and everything be held in the form of Bitcoins. You can simply just flip it in and put it wherever you need it. Pay taxes, pay for things, do anything you want. When this starts to happen, soon stores will start accepting it as well. People are going to get used to it because that is what human behavior tells us. They will start using it on the daily because it offers incentives of more customers for companies and more comfort for the individuals. In that sense, you can say that Bitcoin's dominance has already been established now. And all it will take moving further is just some time and patience to see the world get Bitcoinalized. The ones who get their hands on now will be the winners.